With their low prices and their ability to always offer the latest trends, Shein has completely taken over the fashion market. There is no escaping them. Their clothes are everywhere online. While a lot of small businesses were struggling during the pandemic, Shein became the most mentioned brand on social media, and they are currently the biggest fast fashion retailer. They control 28% of the fast fashion market in the US alone. Here are 6 reasons why this is a problem. Shein uses low quality and harmful materials. In their product filters, they show a really long list of fabrics that they claim to use. First of all, this list is a mess because it's way too long. There are a lot of materials that can be grouped together, a lot of categories, a lot of names that are basically the same. I also found some questionable categories like fabric and textile. Obviously, this whole list is fabric and textiles. This just goes to show that they have no idea which materials they are actually using, and they don't really pay a lot of attention to it. So I went through the list and I found 10 materials that are somewhat sustainable and some are even very sustainable. There are quite a few, although these 3 materials, tencel, lyocell, are basically the same thing. They just made 3 different categories for them. There is some nuance to it if I'm gonna be honest, but I noticed that Shein uses them interchangeably, so I'm not sure why they made 3 different categories, but once again, that just shows that they probably don't really know what lyocell even means, and they probably don't really care. So you might think the list of sustainable materials is pretty long for a fast fashion brand, and I did too, but if you actually check each category, you'll see that first of all they have the bare minimum amount of items in the categories. Here I'm checking bamboo, and they have 6 items. But at least they have some, right? Like they could also do nothing, they could also have 0 in here, so we have to appreciate that. But if you actually check these products, you'll see that it's actually made of polyester and elastane. There is not one single bamboo fiber in this top. Same goes for this one. Made from polyester, although it is grouped into the bamboo category. And you can basically repeat this for all of the categories. This is linen. So this white button up top that is supposedly made of linen is actually made from polyester. This blue one, button-up shirt, very nice, made from linen. Actually no, made from polyester. So for organic cotton and the blends, they have 2 categories for this one. There are 4 items, but this brown sweater that was supposed to be made from organic cotton is actually made from basically everything except cotton, let alone organic cotton. This pink sweater, once again, has all the other materials but no cotton and absolutely no organic cotton. None of these products that are in the organic cotton category actually has organic cotton. Rami is an amazing material. I was actually surprised to see it in the list, but obviously I could have known that it's not really used in their products. This one is the skirt. This black skirt is made from polyester and viscose. And this baby blue checked set is not made from Rami, it's polyester. Tencel, lyocell, all of these, same thing, same story. So this white top in this lyocell category is actually made from 100% polyester. So they lie about the materials they use. They don't use sustainable materials, and when they do, it's in very small amounts. So what materials do they use instead? Mostly polyester and cotton. At the time of making this video, they had 5,000 polyester items in the women's section alone, and almost 3,000 with cotton. Polyester is an incredibly harmful material. It's basically plastic and it takes up to 200 years to decompose. So all of the polyester clothes that you own right now will probably outlive you. The carbon emissions of polyester are really high, and carbon emissions are a big cause of global warming, so this is a really big problem. Making a year's worth of polyester is around 700 million tons of CO2. To make that a bit easier to understand and visualize, that's the same amount of CO2 as 180 power plants. But cotton is not much better. Yes, cotton is biodegradable and the CO2 emissions are much lower compared to polyester, as well as the energy usage for the production, but cotton requires a lot of water, 10,000 liters for just 1 kilo of fiber. Shein is a classic example of a fast fashion brand. They are supposedly able to produce an item of clothing within a week. This includes all the steps from the designing to the packaging. To give a comparison, for fast fashion brands like H&M and Zara, this reportedly takes 3 weeks. For sustainable brands, this process takes months. Shein's mission statement says they stay well informed of what is in demand, produce goods in a timely manner, and deliver the products quickly. And well, they live up to it. That's exactly what they are doing. They are always up to date on the latest trends, and they release these trends as fast as possible. Every time you check their website, they have completely new things. They want you to wear the items once and then come back next week for something new. And with their low prices, it makes it really difficult to resist. So they for sure succeed in their mission. But the problem is, their mission is not something the planet can handle. Shein adds between 700 and 2,000 new styles a day. I even saw some sources claim higher numbers, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt with these numbers. To be able to quickly change with the trends, they usually produce very small amounts of each style, around 50 to 100 for each. If something is really popular, they will mass produce in bigger numbers, but they mostly start with small amounts of 50 to 100. So if we only take the best scenario, once again giving the benefit of the doubt, that would be 700 styles and 50 pieces of each style. So that's 35,000 clothing items every single day. They handle over 10,000 orders daily, and one research I read said one of Shein's many factories in China produces 1.2 million items of clothing per day, and Shein's clothes are made in thousands of factories. The average consumer throws away 60% of their new clothes within 1 year. Just think about all of these numbers for a second. Think about the amount of materials that are brought into the world daily. Many materials that take hundreds of years to decompose. Using cheap and bad quality materials is one of the reasons why Shein is able to offer such low prices. You can find things for as little as $3. There are many problems with selling clothes for almost nothing. Obviously, inherently it's bad because, like I said, it means the materials are cheap and very harmful and low quality that won't last long. And with these prices, you also know that the person in Asia who made it for you isn't working in very good conditions, but I'll get into that later. Those reasons already make it bad enough, but there are more reasons why it's so harmful to offer such low prices. They give you the wrong idea of how much it costs to make a clothing item. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm also talking about how many resources are used, like fabrics, how much energy and time, how much literal energy, like electricity, how much water, how many chemicals, how many people are involved from the beginning to the end. I've been sewing my whole life, so I know how much goes into the production of a garment, and it's honestly infuriating to see a clothing item that takes hours to make and requires resources from the earth, and that goes through many machines and factories before ending up on the website, is being sold for just a few dollars. Fast fashion brands like Shein are making you believe that clothes don't have a lot of value and that it doesn't take much to produce a clothing item. Low prices imply that clothes are disposable and only made to be worn once or a few times. It also encourages you to splurge and buy a lot more than you need. Most people buy a lot of things at once from Shein. I mean, you see those big hauls on TikTok, YouTube. Because it's cheap, you can easily buy 10 items for like $60 or $70 or even less. Especially knowing the shipping might take a few weeks, so you want to make it worth the wait by placing a bigger order. You're not just gonna buy one item and then wait for it for a couple of weeks. Speaking of the shipping, by the way, the delivery fee is often more or just as expensive as one garment, so it wouldn't even be beneficial to only buy one item. And on that note as well, allegedly Shein offers free returns in some countries, but if you want to return just one item, they just let you keep the item and refund you. So you can keep the item, but you also get the money back, because otherwise Shein has to pay for the shipping for that one garment, which is often the same price as the garment itself, so it's not worth it for them. Shein just lets you keep it. They are handing out garments like they're candy. And the consequence of this is that people and brands who actually care about our planet and are making clothes the way they should be made get told that their clothes are too expensive. Everything is now compared to Shein's prices, and anything above that is considered expensive. Another reason why their clothes are so cheap, and that I already touched on a bit earlier, is because they exploit their workers. You might think you're getting a bargain, but you're just making someone else pay for the real cost. The $5 top you might want to buy from Shein was most likely made by someone who works 12 to 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Many of the suppliers where Shein produces are small and informal factories in China that are often not very well regulated. In a research done in November 2021, 10 employees from different factories were interviewed. They said they worked 3 shifts per day, a morning shift, afternoon, and evening shift. The evening shift is 6 days a week, and they only get 1 day off per month. That's a total of 75 hours a week. The workers in the visited factories were not paid overtime, and they didn't sign an employment contract. They don't receive any social security contributions, and many factories don't comply with basic safety standards. These are all violations of the Chinese labor law, so it's not a case of, well, different country, different rules. No, the Chinese labor laws don't allow any of this. In most factories, Shein workers are paid per item, so the more items they make, the more they get paid. The system encourages employees to work long hours, but this also means that if there's no work available, they don't have a salary. It's an insecure and unstable job for the workers because there are no defined working hours. They never know how much money they'll be able to take home to their families each month. In a recent documentary from Channel 4, an undercover journalist visited some factories and found the workers received 3 British pence per item they produce. In another factory where they are paid a base salary, they receive 4,000 Chinese yuan per month to produce 500 pieces of clothing per day. That's around 492 British pounds. If workers make a mistake and a garment doesn't pass the quality check, they are fined 2/3 of their daily salary, which is around 100 yuan or 12 British pounds. So now we know Shein is harming people and the planet, but that's not all. The first step in a production process is usually the least harmful part in a clothing brand, which is designing the clothes. But it seems Shein can't even do that in an ethical way. Fast fashion brands often take inspiration from luxury and high-end brands, and they all follow the latest trends. So usually all fast fashion brands have some similar items, that's normal. Other brands, however, only take it as inspiration and still change up the designs a bit. Shein doesn't even bother to make their own designs. They plagiarize and copy designs directly from small brands, designers, and artists. The designs these small businesses probably worked on for months are taken by Shein and sold for almost no money. The designs from this artist were stolen 6 times in less than a year. The first time, Shein offered $40 as compensation, as if that would be enough. The second time, they offered $600 if she would basically sell them the drawing. She said no, as she should, and then they just continued without offering any compensation. This designer, her Instagram handle is Transformations by Tracy, had 2 of her designs stolen.
This top, it's a knockoff of my silk lace cami to the T. This is the original design. It completely knocked off my tie front silk slip dress. Honestly, I think they look identical.
Bailey Prado, a crochet designer, had 45 of her designs stolen. Maison Cleo is actually the reason I learned about Shein's plagiarism because I've already been following this sustainable brand for years. Shein copied some of their designs, and they didn't even bother to change anything about them. An interesting thing is that Shein had emailed them about a year prior to ask if they wanted to join their designer partnership program and basically design for them and share the profits. Shein never received a response to this email from the brand, but they still went on and took their designs. And here are some more crochet designs that were stolen by Shein. By the way, don't forget to check all these designers and artists I'm showing here. They all have beautiful handmade pieces that are not as harmful to the planet. So plagiarism already shows they are very tone deaf, but in 2020, Shein also sold some insensitive designs, like a Muslim prayer mat that they call different names like fringed trim carpet or Greek carpet, and a week later they were selling a golden necklace with a swastika symbol. And finally, their transparency, or lack thereof. Before a garment ends up on Shein's website, it has already gone through a long production process. This is a very watered down version of a supply chain because there are many more steps in between and after. A lot goes into the production of clothes. It's very difficult to find information about Shein's supply chain. We know a big portion of their garments is made in South China, but where do they source the fabrics? Where are the raw materials from that are used for the fabrics? Which other countries do they produce in? The only thing they mention on their website is that the products are sourced from different regions around the world, including China and the US. Something else I know about Shein's supply chain is that they don't just produce their garments in their own factories or suppliers. They also rely on subcontractors. They have the system where Shein posts their designs with all of the requirements on the Chinese platform WeChat, and factories can then apply for the production of those garments. This basically means Shein can produce their clothes in thousands of factories without really having to be tied to them and have partnership with each of them. This system allows Shein to just not feel any responsibility for the working conditions in all of these different factories. If something goes wrong in one of the factories or if there are illegal working conditions, Shein just doesn't care because they are not their own factories or their main suppliers. According to Chinese media reports, Shein works with more subcontractors from WeChat than main suppliers. So it's not just done as an extra. It seems subcontractors that Shein has no control over produce most of their garments. And Shein doesn't provide any information on whether they monitor these factories. They have a code of conduct on their website, which is full of promises, but we can already debunk a lot of the things they mention in there. Like, for example, all supplier partners must operate in full compliance with local laws, and they need to comply with the legal requirements for overtime compensation, and there shall not be disciplinary deduction from wage payment. Reasonable working hours that comply with local laws. Minimize environmental impact is an interesting one because a fast fashion brand will always have a big impact on the environment. Shein doesn't show any transparency, and as consumers we should know where our clothes are from and how they were made. We should know exactly which materials were used and which journey it made before ending up in our closet. In conclusion, Shein is a big contributor to the issue of textile waste and global warming, and they are exploiting the workers so they can offer unrealistically low prices. Shein wants you to believe clothes are worth the same as disposable and single-use food packaging. People have gotten used to seeing a dress for $11, but the only way a price like that can be reached is if the brand uses a harmful fabric and exploits the workers who make it. So let me know in the comments what you think, let's talk about it, and also let me know if there's something else I should talk about.